Call to order the November 7th, 2018 Planning and Zoning Commission. Roll call, please.
Barbie. Here. Buckley.
Here.
Castro. Maxwell.
Here.
Wright.
Here.
Chair Dow.
Here.
5 present.
We're all hacking and coughing, sorry.
Don't cough on me.
No,
Spray us all down with white salt.
right.
We're done.
Approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections? And if none, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
So
Second.
moved by Barbie.
Second.
Second by Buckley. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
it's fall.
Approval of the October 3rd, 2018 minutes. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? And if none, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
So moved by Buckley.
Second.
Second by Maxwell. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. This is the public participation portion of the meeting. This is an opportunity for anyone in the public who would like to speak on anything that is not part of the agenda. If there is anyone in the public that wishes to do so, you may go to the podium. There being none, we move on to new business. Our first item is a public hearing, a petition by Cornerstone DeKalb LLC, represented by John Pappas, for approval of amendments to Ordinance 2017-011 to add additional service facilities to the list of permitted commercial uses in Article 2C of the ordinance, up to 2,000 square feet, and also requesting the maximum square footage allowed for professional service offices in the ordinance be increased from 1,000 square feet to 2,000 square feet for 106, 112, 118, and 124 East Lincoln Highway and 122 South First Street, which is also known as Cornerstone DeKalb. So I open to the petitioners if there is someone here.
The petitioner is not here yet, so I'll just proceed with the staff report.
Sure.
And if Mr. Pappas comes, he said he would try to make it,
Okay.
if he could, in case there's any questions. So I'll go through it, and hopefully he can arrive before the end of the report. But I certainly can answer any questions. So this proposal is requesting amendment to the Cornerstone DeKalb Plan Development Ordinance that was approved in February 2017 by the City Council. The ordinance had a list of permitted and residential, commercial uses, as well as a list of prohibited uses, with a focus on retail and restaurant type uses. Of course, they had the ordinance approving the 51 apartments, upper floors, and then had a list of commercial uses permitted, kind of broken down into 3 categories. The first was retail uses. Second was restaurants and retail food establishments, and then the third was professional service offices, such as medical offices and law offices. And the language also included, it's in the report there, that determination of what constitutes a similar professional office being made by the city manager, and that use category, professional service offices, was limited to 1,000 square feet. So the applicant would like to amend that ordinance. They have a proposed, and you can see on the image on the monitors, a proposed nail salon of about 1,600 square feet that like to locate on the ground floor. They're pretty close to wanting to finish the work and open, but the ordinance did not allow that particular type of service use. So what the applicant is proposing is to amend the ordinance and to allow the following uses up to 2,000 square feet. We kind of use this language from the UDO for the light commercial district, this service facilities language, including, we list several here, barbershops, beauty shops, nail salons, etc. Several uses mentioned there, and then with determination what constitutes a similar service facility being made by the city manager. So limiting that group to 2,000 square feet, and also the petitioner is requesting the maximum square footage for the professional service offices. That's the legal, medical offices, be increased from the current 1,000 square foot max to 2,000 square foot max. So approving the proposed amendments will be a benefit. It will allow some additional service uses in the building, which will help bring additional foot traffic to the area, additional people, some additional services for the residents of the building and the surrounding area. Also, there is ample retail space in the downtown area. So the location of service uses in part of the ground floor will not take up space that's in high demand for retail uses in the area. Again, the service uses will be limited to a certain square footage. The overall commercial space in the ground floor of Cornerstone is about 8,000 square feet. So with the 4,000 square foot max, again, the only tenant proposed in terms of the service use is the nail salon at 1,600 square feet. So the max that the service uses could take up is only 15% of the commercial space. So there'll be plenty of room for these retail restaurant uses in there. So staff would recommend approval of the amendment. There is a sample motion prepared that spells out the amendments, and they're also provided, shown here, that was in the staff report of how the ordinance is being amended. If there's any questions, I can certainly answer those.
Okay. So since this is a public hearing, I open up this portion to anyone in the public who would like to speak to this item or have any questions. And if so, you're welcome to go to the podium. And I'm going to note there is no one in the public that wishes to speak at this moment. So I will open up questions from the commissioners.
I have one. Mr. Olson, would this just be addressing the ground floor, or would this be changing use above the ground floor?
Won't change anything above the ground floor. Still allow the 51 apartments, so just the ground floor.
Okay.
I understand it.
So it's basically just a rearrangement of the ground floor.
It's just allowing additional service uses on the ground floor, the non-retail uses, increasing the categories of the service uses and the square footage.
So it's just using the space that's there.
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
There was this one picture, I got a little puzzled. It was, I think, an older picture that was in there, because there's still the old building, right?
Oh, the aerial? Yeah,
The
that's
aerial.
I don't have an updated aerial, so I just use the
Okay.
subject site
So
map.
But
this
then I
picture-
thought, oh
Yeah.
no, they're gonna build something there, but, no, okay, that makes sense,
Yeah.
right?
I just used the one when they rezoned it in 2017.
Yeah.
So. That's a current image, street view there, showing
Those
the
Salvados
tenant
pass.
space.
Great.
Go Salvados pass.
Jerry? Do you have anything? Nope. Dan, I do have a question, and it's more a point, just clarification, because I just want to make sure that I'm not over confusing my muddled brain this evening. So down in the paragraph where, in our backup, where it says the approval, in that paragraph, you talk about there will be a limit on the square footage allowed for the services used in professional service offices of 4,000 square feet. But in the ordinance, we're changing it to 2,000 square feet. And then
Yeah.
we've got, so what's,
Well, we
why
have
is-
two categories of professional service offices, so that max is going from, you can see, 1,000 to 2,000.
yeah,
Then we have a new category, these service facilities, which are not the legal medical offices, more the service uses like barber shops, beauty shops, nail salons. That has a limit of 2,000 square feet. So the 2,000 square feet between the two is a total of 4,000.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where I was confused. So in essence, there's two potential areas that could be, that are broken down in there on that
Right.
ground level, and that would cover both of those areas in total square footage.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we'll give the public one more opportunity to speak before I close the public hearing. And there being none, I close the public hearing and turn to the commissioners for any further comments or questions. Mr. Wright?
It is the service facilities, that's an addition to, we further defining that number 4 in the in Exhibit A of the report.
Yeah, the service facilities are in addition to the professional service offices, which are pretty much the medical and legal offices. Sort of the separate category of the service facilities, and it lists some examples there of some uses that would categories. That's very similar to the language we have in the UDO for a category of commercial uses, so.
Yeah.
No? Good? Okay. There being no further questions, I would be happy to exercise a motion.
I can do it, I just want to make sure I'm reading the right one, because my page keeps
Yeah, I know the feeling.
flipping back and forth on me.
Let's hope I handed you the right one.
Based upon the submitted petition and testimony presented, I move that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend to the City Council approval and amendment to Ordinance 2017-011 to add to the list of permitted commercial uses in Article 2.c of the ordinance in the following uses up to 2,000 square feet of the available commercial space. Services facilities, including barbershops, beauty shops, nail salons, copy service, artist studios, photographers, tailors, music and dance instruction, suntan parlors, travel agencies, and other similar services, with determination of what constitutes a similar service facility being made by the city manager, and to approve the maximum square footage allowed for professional services offices in Article 2.c of the ordinance be increased from 1,000 square feet to 2,000 square feet for the subject property located at 106, 112, 118, and 124 East Lincoln Highway and 122 South First, as outlined in Exhibit A.
Motion's been made by Mr. Maxwell,
Second.
second by Barbie. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 5 yes.
Our second item is a public hearing. A petition by Plaza DeKalb LLC, represented by John Pappas, for approval of amendments to Ordinance 2017-036 to add additional service facilities to the list of permitted commercial uses in Article 2.c of the ordinance up to 2,000 square feet, and also requesting the maximum square footage allowed for professional service offices in the ordinance be increased from 1,000 square feet to 2,000 square feet for 203, 209, 223, and 229 East Lincoln Highway, which is known as Plaza DeKalb. So, to the city?
Yes, I'll go forward with the staff report, very similar to the one we just heard. This is for Plaza DeKalb. That ordinance for that project was approved in August 2017. As with Cornerstone, had a list of permitted commercial and residential uses. That one permitted 21 upper floor apartment units, and then commercial uses on the ground floor in 3 categories: retail uses, also grocery stores, restaurants, and retail food establishments permitted, including bars that maintain service of food. And then also the third category, similar to Cornerstone, is professional service offices, mostly medical or legal offices up to 1,000 square feet. So the applicant, same applicant, John Pappas with Plaza DeKalb LLC, requesting amend the ordinance to add to the list of permitted commercial uses. What the applicant is requesting or proposing is that as you can see in the image here, there's about 1,000 square feet of professional suites, as you can see in the image here, between a future Jammer restaurant and the Gaming Goat. Like to have, there's no specific use yet, but there'd be potentially service uses like a hair salon or a use like that, and it's currently not permitted in that ordinance, same as like Cornerstone. So the applicant is wanting to amend that to allow up to 2,000 square feet these service uses, similar to Cornerstone, with the beauty shops, barber shops, nail salons, etc. Same language, and also to amend the professional service office category to increase that max square footage from 1,000 to 2,000 square feet. Again, the only use proposed in that professional suites, there's no specific use yet. He's looking to do the build out and then lease it out to the appropriate use, but once they have that ability to have those types of service uses in there. So again, with similar to Cornerstone, approving these amendments will allow some additional space for these non-retail uses. These will be a benefit to the area, bring additional foot traffic, be a benefit to the residents in the building and surrounding area. Again, there's ample retail space in the downtown, so we're not taking up prime retail space with this additional service uses. In the Plaza DeKalb at the ground level, a little bit larger than Cornerstone. Actually, there's a little change from the staff report. There's actually 14,000 square feet of commercial space on the ground floor instead of 12,000. So only about 28% of the commercial space could be taken up by these non-retail uses. So again, the maximum of 4,000 square feet, 2,000 each with the professional offices, legal, medical, and then max of 2,000 for these other service uses would be allowed. But again, it's not going to be the whole building. There'll be mostly retail type uses in the ground floor area. Don't change the upper levels at all. Still a max of 21 apartment units. So staff would recommend approval. There's a sample motion that is prepared, and with an Exhibit A that shows the specific amendments.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I open the public hearing portion to the public. If there's anyone who would like to speak or have questions on this item, you're welcome to go to the podium. And I will note there is none, so I will turn to the commissioners for any questions. And I'll start with Mr. Wright. Nope.
I have some questions, but they don't exactly relate to this, but I'm just looking at the numbering of the buildings. We have 209, 223, 223 and a half, and 229 and a half in the same building, and then 229. That's really weird.
There are apartments in the second level, so
I know you can't change it, but the new building, the 209, you know where Jamra is?
yeah.
Why is there 209 and then 223?
That addressing was done by our GIS person, so it may leave some opening. You always want to leave some addresses in the openings in case there's
There's just
additional
no
units
open-
or additional apartments or something, so.
There's really no opening that I can see, but, I mean, I'm sure they have a reason, but it is peculiar.
Well, there's going to be up to 4 suites in there, so they might have separate addresses. You always want to kind of leave a gap in case.
But then
First
the
feature.
223 and a half and 229 and a half on the same door
Okay.
of the gaming goat. It's just an observation. I know you
Yeah.
didn't do it, but it is kind of weird.
Okay.
Yeah.
The person that does our addressing has looked at that, and they've done that for a long time, consulting with the fire department and
Mhm. Well, yeah,
make
that's
sure
the
their
most
address
important, that they
properly.
know
Yeah.
which 229 to go to, or hopefully not to
Yeah,
go to.
that's all reviewed and shared with the fire department once
Mhm.
how that
Why
works.
not?
So.
Yeah. Thank you.
Question.
Sure.
No questions.
None? I didn't even ask you guys yet. You're good.
You just
No,
look
I'm
this
kidding.
way.
I miss Schultz
You
Brothers.
just
Yeah,
have to look.
They're being proactive. All right. We're being a little giddy tonight, which is good. So I give the public one more opportunity to speak if they wish. There being none, we will close the public hearing. If there are no further questions or comments from the commissioners, then I would be happy to take a motion.
I will motion. Based on the submitted petition and testimony presented, I move that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend to the City Council approval an amendment to Ordinance 2017-036 to add to the list of permitted commercial uses in Article 2.c of the ordinance the following uses up to 2,000 square feet of the available commercial space, services facilities including barber shops, beauty shops, nail salons, copy service, artist studios, photographers, tailors, music, and dance instruction, suntan parlors, travel agencies, and other similar service facilities, with the determination of what constitutes a similar service facility being made by the city manager, and to approve the maximum square footage to allowed for professional service offices in Article 2.c of the ordinance to be increased from 1,000 square feet to 2,000 square feet for the subject property located at 203, 209, 223, and 229 East Lincoln Highway as outlined in Exhibit A.
Motion's been made by Maxwell,
Second,
second by Buckley. Roll call.
Buckley?
yes.
Maxwell?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
Barbie?
Yes.
Chair Dow?
Yes.
5 yes.
Thank you. Item number 3 is a public hearing. Excuse me. A petition by SV CSG South DeKalb 1 and 2 LLC for approval of a zoning map amendment from the, in quotes, HI Heavy Industrial District to the, quotes, PDI Planned Development Industrial District, and approval of a planned development preliminary plan for the development of two 2-megawatt community solar gardens at, also known as north side of Gerler Road, 500 feet east of South First Street. And I open to the city?
Petitioner.
To the petitioner. If you can state your name and address, we would appreciate it. Thank you.
Bill French. I'm the,
And pull your microphone up just a little. Thank you, Mr. French.
yeah, it's Bill French. I'm the Regional Director of Project Development for Sunvest Solar, Inc. Our address is 25 North River Lane, Geneva, Illinois, 60134.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for letting me be here this evening. Also here is James Planey. He's the owner of the property, but I'll be doing the full presentation. As you had read, we are here seeking a rezoning request for a piece of property at Gerler and South First Street. It would be from heavy industrial to planned industrial. It would involve a two megawatt community solar gardens and 1 industrial parcel. Just wanted to touch base and kind of bring you up to speed on why we're here and what are the factors that are driving solar development in Illinois. Illinois has been a state that has lagged behind other states in solar development for some time. But back in December of 2016, the state legislature passed the Future Energy Jobs Act. The Future Energy Jobs Act did a couple of things. One, it provided some benefits for Commonwealth Edison to maintain a couple of their nuclear power plants. And it also fixed what is the renewable portfolio standard in the state of Illinois. What they've done is they've raised that standard now up to 25% renewable energy by the year 2026. Currently, only about 9% of our energy developed here in Illinois is from renewable energy sources. So it made a significant change to that. The RPS, or the change in the renewable portfolio standard, took effect in June of 2017. And through this act, it's anticipated that they will generate around 3,000 megawatts of new solar in the state of Illinois by the year 2030. The Illinois Commerce Commission is currently working on finalizing the rules that we'll operate from. We expect to have that actually pretty soon. And then the program itself will be administered through the Illinois Power Agency. I'll get off this slide quickly, but just to kind of point out over on the right-hand side that solar in Illinois is going to come from really 4 different places. One is utility scale, and we're not talking about that tonight. And utility scale is a 2 megawatt or larger project. The state has already secured around 800 megawatts of utility scale solar, mostly downstate, and they'll be securing some more of that in the near future as well. Community solar is what we're going to propose here tonight to you, is up to or less than 2 megawatts. The other 2 are commercial and industrial. These would be typically your rooftops on large flat buildings, usually used by the commercial or industrial user in the building, and then residential, which is under 10 kilowatts in size. Community solar can be defined in a few ways. One of them is that it provides power and financial benefits to multiple users. The community solar projects are interconnected on utility side of the distribution system, and therefore we do not need to sell power to the end user. The program itself allows for renewable energy credits to be purchased by the utility, in this case it will be Commonwealth Edison, to help buy down the cost of the energy so that there's a benefit then to the the consumers who use the power. End users would purchase shares or subscriptions to a community solar garden and then receive a credit on their bill. We anticipate that credit will be somewhere between 5 to 10%. So there's definitely a benefit for them. We believe that community solar is a good option for homeowners or businesses that don't have a suitable location on their own property or on their roofs to put solar. So you can secure your energy through a green source without having to put the infrastructure on your own builder. Those end users would actually contract directly with the developer. It would show up as a credit on their bill. And they're typically limited by law to 2 megawatts or less. But in this case, they did make a change to allow them to be co-located. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So the final plans for the REC prices, or the renewable energy credit prices, were published in June, so we know that part. As we talked about, it's a 2 megawatt maximum for a community solar garden, but they will allow you to co-locate up to 4 megawatts. The program's projected, we think, to open in June 15th of 2019. And then we should know somewhere between 45 days as to which projects will be selected. In the first round, there'll be 333 megawatts of community solar offered throughout the state of Illinois to developers like us who bid in. And then we'll have a 15-year contract with the utility being Commonwealth Edison. For the program, for us to be able to participate in the program, we need 3 things. 1 is site control, which we have. 2 is permitting, which I'm here for tonight. And then 3 is a signed interconnection agreement with the utility, Commonwealth Edison. So, a little background on the project information. The project is actually owned by Midland IRA, Inc., for the benefit of Jim Planey, who's here. We are the applicant. The applicant, actually, we've created a company for it. It's SVCSG Decal 1 LLC and 2. Both of those are wholly owned by Sunvest New Energy LLC, which is a 50-50 partnership between Sunvest Solar Inc., who I work for, and our equity partner, which is New Energy Equity LLC out of Annapolis, Maryland. As I mentioned, the location is the northeast northeast corner of Gurler Road and South First Street, City of DeKalb. The existing parcel size now is 36.34 acres. It's currently zoned HI, heavy industrial. But it is being used for agricultural purposes, so it's a tilled field as we speak. Again, we are requesting a rezoning to the PDI, planned industrial, to allow for 2 megawatt community solar gardens and 1 industrial lot. Tough to see this. Looks better on my screen, by the way. It's a little easy to read. This is just an existing zoning map. You can see where the site is. It's the 36 acres there, like I say, just north and east of the intersection of Gurler and South First Street. It is currently zoned HI, heavy industrial, and has been for some time now. Your comprehensive plan, which was last done in 2005 for this area, there was not a sub-area plan done, shows the preferred use would be light industrial. So it's the light pink there as light industrial. Repeating myself here, but again, we're looking for the rezoning of the property from HI to PDI, create a 3-lot subdivision. One of the 2 megawatt solar arrays would be on 11.979 acres. The other would be on 11.269 acres. And the division of that would allow for a 1/3 lot for future industrial. It should be 11.31 acres. As part of our proposal, we would be dedicating right-of-ways both on Gurler Road and South First Street. We're providing a utility easement for the future extension of water mains and sanitary along Gurler Road. And then we would actually be extending some of the water main at this point in time from its existing terminus over on the Goodyear side distribution facility onto our site. It's not working.
There we go.
Yeah, too far.
You went too far now. Couple back. Here we go. One. See if I can do it. Okay. We are asking a couple of waivers from the UDO due to the nature of the development. One is for security reasons. We would like to install a 7-foot chain link security fence around the entire perimeter of both sites. Again, because of the nature, we would not be installing streets or sidewalks per the subdivision design. Also, we are not asking to install any lighting. There would be no additional interior lighting on the property. We'd just be simply utilizing whatever lighting was along Gurla Road. And then we're asking for a waiver from the landscape requirements for all perimeter yards, although we are proposing landscaping along Gurla Road and along the buffer to the existing residential property to the west of the property. Here's just an aerial of the site. The property we're talking about here is in green. As you can see, there's the large Goodyear distribution facility. That's the white roof to the east. We also have the United Parcel facility to the north. There is a pork processing facility also north of the property. To the west and south is unincorporated agricultural. And then to the south and east is the partially developed residential community. Here's our preliminary plat. Again, as we mentioned, we're proposing to divide the property into 3 parcels. I'll get to the actual site plan in a moment here, but that shows you at least the way we break it down. Here. And here's our proposal. Again, the location approximately 26 acres on the southern half of the property. Each parcel would be approximately 11 acres inside the fence for each 2 megawatt solar array. We would have an access drive, a paved access drive off of Gurla Road serving both. Oops, did I bump it? Man, this thing's touchy. I'm going to put it down. There you go. I'll just read off of that. There would be 3 additional utility poles installed at the right-of-way for each community solar garden. So there would be a total of 6. I wanted to clear up at this time. There was a little discrepancy between the site plan and the narrative. The poles of themselves would be no taller than 30 feet. And the reason we have the 3 is it's required by Commonwealth Edison for interconnection into the distribution system. They like the step-up transformers to be in the middle and a pole on either side so that they can break the line on either side of the transformer for emergency purposes. So as much as we would like to not have it, it's required by Commonwealth Edison for that actual interconnection to the site. And the reason there's 6 is they want both projects to be independent of each other. They need to stand alone and operate separately. So each 2 megawatt facility would have to have the 3 poles. We are proposing a buffer along Gurla Road. In addition to the 100-foot buffer yard on the west side of our property, adjacent to the residential property that is currently unincorporated in the community owned by the Oldbergs. Let's see if I can. Tough to see, but this is the landscape plan that we're proposing. It's showing that there would be a continuous row of ornamental trees, shade trees, and evergreens along Gurla Road. This is for the northern part. We would also be providing landscape screening in between our facility and the residents to the west. It would be within the 100-foot buffer. And then this is kind of the neat thing underneath and interior to the entire site. We would like to plant a native prairie pollinating seed mix. So this would be a very attractive, low-growing, flowering plantings. It's very low maintenance. It's a benefit to us as well. I've provided a seed mix or a typical seed mix which you'd like to see. This is what we're proposing. The seed mix may change. They're actually working on a final seed mix between the Illinois Department of Natural Resources and the University of Illinois Extension offices. So we might have something maybe a little more specific and tailored to this this climate. But this is a pretty typical picture of what we'd expect to see once this is up and flourishing. The project itself, here's a construction picture. The racking system that is used is actually a galvanized steel support system. It's pile driven into the ground, so there's no concrete involved. Just using a pneumatic pounding machine drives the the poles into the ground, and then we attach the support system on top of that, and the panels then get affixed to the support system. The I-beams are driven about 8 to 12 feet into the ground. It's a very manual, labor-intensive endeavor. But the rows are fixed for the solar installations. This is a fixed tilt system, so that there aren't any moving parts. The solar panels will simply face south, and they would not move. Spacing between the rows of the panels is approximately 16 to 18 feet, depending on the site, but we think that'll be about right for this. Oh, it's killing me. Okay.
Kids, dogs,
one
and
back, one
clickers,
back.
they'll never do it when you want them.
Yep. Construction takes about 8 to 12 weeks is all for each site. We'd have approximately 25 semi-loads of panels brought in per site. In the beginning, you'd have about 15 to 20 full-time construction workers. Those are the ones who would be actually doing the pile driving and installing the racking system itself. After that, you'd have about 10 construction workers on site who would be installing the panels. Most of the panel installation is done by hand, so it's fairly labor-intensive. After construction, as we mentioned, the ground would be seeded. It would actually be very low maintenance. We'd probably come in there once or twice a year to do mowing and do any spot weeding to get the prairie mix to come to fruition. Everyone asks how, so 1 megawatt of solar power generates enough electricity for 200 homes. So in this case, if both were constructed, we'd have enough to generate electricity for 800 homes. So people could subscribe to that within the area or businesses, and hopefully be a nice local benefit. The panels themselves are designed to last for 20 to 25 years, at which time, once the lease is expired or once the panels themselves have gone through their useful life, we would remove all the equipment fully from the site, and then the site could be redeveloped for whatever purposes are appropriate at that time. We would not have any buildings on site. The only on-site structures are the panels you see here, the inverter, which is that panel box in the back. That's the thing. That's the magic machine. It's the one that converts sunlight into DC direct current power, and then it switches it over to alternate current, which is how our panels or how our electric system works. The panels themselves are maintained twice a year. They're monitored off-site. Someone's going to visit it maybe once or twice a week. It's pretty low maintenance. There are really no moving parts, so everything is pretty much taken care of via off-site monitoring. The panel itself is about 9.5 feet tall. And again, once the panels are up, there'll really be minimal traffic to the site in or out. We did do a property value impact study. It was done for us by the firm Cohn Resnick. They're a well-respected firm, not only here in Chicago, but nationally. Illinois was a little bit tricky. There are very few solar projects that you could look at to compare for property values. So they actually looked out really around the Midwest, mostly Minnesota, a couple here in Illinois and in Indiana. They looked at 17 adjoining property sales in the test area, analyzed 70 comparable sales, interviewed local real estate brokers, individual county assessors, and concluded that there is no measurable difference in values between a test and control area. Again, this one's a little bit different since it's already zoned heavy industrial. I would assume that had been taken into account for anybody who's looking at resale around the area. But the point I brought this up is I did provide you with that report, and just to let you know that a very reputable firm has looked at it and told us that there's just not going to be much real negligible effect at all. And lastly, I hope I can read this from here. The economic benefits to the city and to the taxing bodies will be the increase in taxes that'll come to all of them. Currently, the site generates about $2,000, a little over $2,000 in taxes annually. With the development of the solar facility, that'll jump up to over $35,000. The city will derive some of that, the county as well, but certainly the largest benefactor of the increase in taxes will be the school district. At this time, we are not asking for any other considerations, so we're not asking for any tax breaks, any help from the city or any enterprise zones or anything like that. Again, we're excited to be here and present this because we think the project should provide businesses and residents in the area an opportunity to subscribe to projects. and then derive some of their energy from solar energy. A couple of miscellaneous pictures, just threw them in there. The one on the left just shows it under construction. That's once the piles have been driven. One on the right there shows you how the panels are actually installed. The piles there, those are the panels. They come and be delivered on the flatbed truck, kind of stacked up there, and just one by one people hook them up. All the wiring is either underground or runs in raceways on the back side of the panel, so you wouldn't see any poles or any wiring on site. Picture on the left-hand side, that's the inverters. Those are the magic boxes. So they're converting from DC direct current into alternate current. They do have a small fan on them. I like to tell people that. It's not completely silent, but they're very quiet. So during the daytime, there's a small fan. Picture the old, like a computer-sized fan that you would normally see. That's all it is. It's about 60 decibels at 3 feet. After that, it steps down to be pretty negligible. On the right hand, this shows you the unfortunate poles that we have to use. Shows you the one in the middle. That's the one that has the transformers on it. And then the pole either side would show you the ones that on our side connecting it, and then connecting it onto the distribution system. Questions or comments? Happy to answer any questions and do my best.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Once we get through the public portion, if we have any further questions, then we'll have you come back up.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, and I turn to the city.
Thank you. There's a staff report in your packet. The applicant went very thoroughly through the whole project, what's all proposed, so I won't cover a lot what was already repeated. In the UDO, we currently don't have, we have solar energy provisions, but that's related to when solar panels are used for the user that's on the site, like for a home or small commercial area. We really don't have a community solar garden provisions in our ordinance, so that's why we asked them to request a zoning to plan development industrial to accommodate that particular use. Again, they went over the site with the 2 phases of the development with the industrial on the north. They're providing the, I think the keys we were looking at is the layout of the site with the setbacks. They're having minimum 40-foot setback along Gurler Road. They're dedicating from the center line additional 50 feet of right-of-way, so that is cleared up. They also have some, there's a unincorporated DeKalb County to the west. There's a single-family home, so there is a additional setback along the west part of the site next to that area of 100 feet, and then the 50-foot setback on the perimeter, rest of the perimeters of the site. As mentioned, there's a waiver regarding our subdivision regulations. This particular use doesn't use any sanitary or water service, so they are extending a water main to the southeast portion of the site near the access drive. There'll be an access drive. It's kind of hard to see here. You can see on the plans that are in your packet. They did extend on the revised plans that were on your dais tonight, per our fire department comment, to extend the 12-foot wide drive, which you're going to be using for maintenance vehicles, further north to the north end of the site with a turnaround that was added from the previous plans at our request. So the fire department is satisfied with any access to the site in terms of any emergencies or fire to the prairie grass or anything like that. So they've looked at that and have approved that with that addition. In terms of the utilities, as mentioned regarding the water main, 16-inch long Gurler Road. They'll be not extending it at this time, but in the future, when the industrial develops on Lot 3, the lot to the north, they would be looking to extend that to the west end of their property. And then also when the industrial develops, then that will kick in the extension of the water. And we're looking, or what it requires, a looping of the water main. And one of the conditions of the approval is that it be looped down First Street, extended down First Street to Gurler Road, and then to the east to connect to the existing. The applicant does have some concerns regarding that extension, and I think we can probably work on the language in terms of, that it be looped, but in terms of the location, that could be worked out. We really don't know or can't nail that down until we actually see what's proposed for the industrial area. So when that is, then we'll make sure that the area is looped, and if it's down First Street or down this west end of the property, we'll work it out at that time. They also committed to paying 50% of the water main extension along Gurler Road, and we'll work that out with the developer and with the council in terms of the payment. They're looking at doing some payments over 3 or 4 years over that, and it all depends a lot too with the development, if their development occurs to the south of the site, and then there'd be a recapture agreement, so it all kind of depends on the timing of how it develops. But the utilities will be extended eventually to the west end of the property once the industrial development comes in. But until that time, then there's no extensions that will be happening with the initial development of the solar arrays. The as mentioned regarding their landscaping, they're showing again. They asked for a waiver on, but they're showing screening along Gurla Road. We thought was important also along the west end of the site next to that home that's unincorporated to Calhoun County. So they have some landscaping there. The other perimeters they do not. I mentioned electrical lines. They'll be buried throughout the site. They will need the 6 new poles above ground. It's required by ComEd at 30 foot in height, not 40 feet. As indicated too, they did provide a property value impact study indicating that there'd be no negative impacts on the adjacent property values. Summary again of the waivers to the UDO, the fencing. They need a 7 foot high chain link fence around the perimeter of the site. The 2 solar array areas, we allow fences up to 6 feet in height if they're part of, can be higher if they're part of a landscape screening. The fence is not part of landscape screening. It's required for safety and security on the site. Lighting, there's no public access to the site, no parking lot, so there's no lighting needed on the site, so that is waived. Mentioned landscaping waiver, and then the subdivision improvements. They're not doing all those improvements initially per the ordinance, but will be worked out over time as the industrial development comes in. So we have in the report the standards for rezoning, as we always do, and the standards for plan development. So summarizing standards for rezoning, conforms to the comprehensive plan. It calls for light industrial on their uses, so that's incompatible with that. The length of time the property has been vacant should be under consideration. The applicant indicated that it's been vacant for 20 years or so and no strong interest in industrial uses. So this use would be appropriate. The ordinance rezoning conforms to the UDO. It does, except for the waivers, which are justified as noted. Pros, the land use and zoning is compatible with the surrounding area. Noted the surrounding uses to the east, the tire distribution center, the ag uses to the west and south, and the variety of commercial, manufacturing, industrial uses to the north. Their impact study indicated property values will not be negatively affected with this proposal, and it's a renewable energy source that will be a benefit to the city and the surrounding area. Talked about the adequate public facilities being in place or be planned for in the future. Stormwater will have to be reevaluated when they bring in a industrial user. There is a detention area to the north owned by the city, but with initial development of the solar arrays, with the very small amount of pervious surface, there's no need for any type of stormwater detention at this. So you can see from the images there's a lot of native plantings around the whole site, so no need for stormwater detention at this stage. The standards for plan development, again, regarding access, they have the 12-foot access proposed at the southeast part of the site that will serve for strictly maintenance vehicles. It will have a gate there. I have to have a Knox box system for the fire department so they can gain access if needed. But the traffic impacts are very minimal on the site. The site's been reviewed by the school district, park district, the police and fire department. I noted the comments regarding the fire department, which have been addressed. Again, the site will be compatible with the surrounding land uses and not detrimental to the surrounding area, including the property values or the visual pollution. We did receive one citizen response form from Alshiva Beller of Oak Properties, a property about 10 acres to the northwest of the site. She is here? Okay. Okay, I'll let you speak, but she has some questions on it. I believe the applicant did talk to Ms. Beller regarding some issues, so I think they were worked out, but you certainly can comment on those if you wish. So we do recommend approval. There's a sample motion provided for the commission. Exhibit A is the list of the plan development plans. There was a revised plan I put on your dais tonight. For the site plan and preliminary plat, we still need to look at those as a staff and make sure everything's addressed. The development standards are there. One regarding the waiver of the water main granted until development of Lot 3 is shown, then the water main needs to be looped from First Street to Gerler Road. Number 2 is the developers contribute 50% of the installation of the water main along Gerler Road. In terms of the timing and cost to be worked out between the developer and the city prior to council final action. Includes a final plat will have to be done prior to any construction on the site and with all the appropriate certificates and changes on there. List the waivers, of course, and then we did have some Exhibit B is just a list of comments they'll have to address, and many of those were addressed with revised plans. We still need to go through all those. The one thing I would add on Exhibit B, probably related to the utilities, was the need on the preliminary plat the addition of a 20-foot utility easement along the west sides of lots 1, 2, and 3. That would be in case there would be any utility extensions along that lot line in the future. So I would just add that as number 17 there, addition of a 20-foot utility easement on the west end of the property. So it's a staff report. Certainly I can answer any questions the commission may have.
Okay, thank you. So I open this now up to the public. Anyone who has any questions or comments, you're welcome to go to the podium and state your name and address. Did you have any further questions or that you needed?
I talked to the person who did the impact study, who I've known for 30 years anyway.
Okay.
So
And
I
you're
trust her.
good?
And then I talked to Bill last week, and so
Okay.
I'm good.
Wonderful. So I was just asking that of Ms. Beller for the record. If there is any further questions or comments from the public, you're welcome to go to the podium. There being none at this moment, I'll turn to the commissioners and start
I don't have anything.
down this end.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think most of the things that I was curious about had been addressed already by city staff, specifically the 7-foot fence versus the 8-foot fence. That seemed like an odd size to me. And then I'm guessing that all these things will be addressed before it's presented to city council?
Yes.
Okay. I did have one more question, if I may, too. With regard to the transformer poles, where is the electricity actually going back into the grid? Is it crossing over any of the roads?
So there's an existing three-phase line that runs along the north side of Gerler Road.
Oh, okay.
So it taps into those.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's on the same side as the project size.
Okay.
So it will not cross the road.
Yeah, I mean, aside from a landscaping plan, I think it's a great idea.
I like it.
I want to hear some of the in your response. There was some of the environmental impact, and that was some of your questioning. So I'd like to hear some of that. And are there any? Is there any history of any problems? What are some of the difficulties that people may run into that you've seen with these developments?
Okay. So the panels themselves, they are a monocrystalline panel, which means it's basically made out of glass, and then there's silicon in between the glass, and in a metal frame. So all the material that makes up almost all the material that makes up the panel itself is inert. So there's nothing that would leach out of it or be detrimental in any way. The panels themselves are glass. They have a non-reflective surface on them, and it's high-tempered. So if it did break, the glass breaks up into little pieces like a windshield would. So you have that. And as far as any environmental concerns, we are not aware of any environmental concerns that have come from these. These are the same types of panels that people put on their own homes, on schools, and on businesses. And we just aren't aware of any environmental issues that would occur from the panels being on the property.
How far back can research go with these panels?
Well, panels have been in place really throughout the United States, probably for the past 20 years. Obviously not as prevalent here in the Midwest, but certainly in the South and in the West, they've been used quite extensively.
Okay. All right. And she had something in there about noise. You talked about noise being minimal.
It's very minimal. There's just a small little fan on the inverter, and at night, there's no noise at all. Nothing's happening at night.
All right. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you.
So I do have some questions.
I'll stay.
And I'm not sure if they're going to be for you to answer or for the city to answer, or it might be a combination of both. Given the fact of the placement of this farm and Gurler Road and the commercial vehicles that are going up and down the road and the school that is right there, when the construction happens or begins to happen, you had said there would be semis coming to drop things off and such.
Mm-hmm.
Is the timing of these trucks dropping off and doing whatever may be needed that may block the road for a short time or may cause some traffic issues? Are you going to work with the school district or the city to try and minimize the impact for the school time when they're trying to drop kids off and pick kids up, plus the residents that live in the south there, leaving for work? Sorry.
You make a very good point, and yes, we would like to work with. Now that's a private school. That's St. Mary's Catholic School, so it's private.
Correct.
I'll be honest, I don't know. Are they using 428's busing service? Do you happen to know?
Yes.
No, they do.
They do?
They do.
Okay. So yeah, that's good actually, because then we could coordinate with them on that. And yes, we would like to work with them and
Okay.
come up with a traffic plan if that's something that the city would like us to do as well. At least coordinating some of those, some of that traffic. As you know, there's a fair amount of traffic on Gurler now,
Yeah.
especially going in and out of the Goodyear facility.
Yeah.
I'm not sure this would add a tremendous amount more, but we'd be happy to come up with some plan together on that.
And obviously, your construction time frame is not going to be, months and months and months. But I was just thinking of that short time frame that you're going to have those trucks dropping off, bringing whatever, to the site.
Mhm.
Any additional traffic of your construction workers, that type. I just wanted to bring that up to a point. If you'd like to come up, go ahead. Sure. If you could say your name and address, please.
I'm Jim Planey, and my family owns the farm, the item parcel in question here. Just regarding the construction traffic, I think most of the rigs will be coming down 88 and get off at Peace Road, and could be directed, coordinated to come down First Street to Gurler Road, and therefore avoid completely going by the school and that.
Although there's a lot of traffic that comes down First Street to Gurler to get to the school, so
Yeah.
they're kind of right in the middle of the block, so to
Okay,
speak.
I just
but-
wanted to suggest
yeah,
that he can
yeah.
coordinate that possibly then.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that was brought into consideration with that.
Okay, thank
But
you.
thank you. I had another question.
Would you hate that?
I have one in the meantime. Maybe
Go
I
ahead.
can ask it and you'll think of it. I'm just curious what the posts and the frames are coated with. Do they rust? What is it?
It's a galvanized steel.
Okay.
So we would not anticipate any rusting. That would be a problem. So the galvanized should hold up just fine, especially for that length of time.
Did you have something else, Max?
Please, have something.
Only if you can include milkweed plant for your prairie flower selection so we can get monarch butterflies back. But
Oh,
no,
that would
that's
be
it. I'm
nice.
done.
That's the whole point behind it. Yeah.
Since you're planting
You
flowers.
gotta bring things
So
up,
that's
that's
the,
right.
that's the whole idea behind the pollinating. It's really
Sure.
it's for bees, it's for butterflies, and for hummingbirds more than anything. Yeah, we've had a real loss right now for the bee population's in trouble.
I'm interested in the relationship with ComEd. How does that work with Sunvest and ComEd?
So this is all being implemented and managed by the Illinois Power Agency. And the Illinois Power Agency, they're the ones who actually negotiate and procure our electricity from the ratepayers, from us, from the utilities. This goes back into the 90s when ComEd was raising rates really high, and Illinois said, well, let's create a commission to help, really help protect the ratepayers, us. So this is being administered through them. It's going to be opened in January, and in January they have a limited number of megawatts available for solar, and those megawatts, if we exceed it if there are enough applicants that exceed the 333 megawatts, by 200%, it'll go into a lottery. And so the lottery will be basically picked at random from the sites that have been approved here in Illinois. There's a lottery for ComEd, and I believe there'll be a lottery for AMN as well. So the relationship would be that we would then have if we were lucky and were selected in this round, and we believe there'll be additional rounds later on, but if we were lucky and we got selected in this round, we would have to then sign a contract with Commonwealth Edison. They would be then paying for the REC, the Renewable Energy Credit, which, as I mentioned before, helps buy down the cost of energy so that we can then offer a discounted rate to the end users. Did I answer your question, or did I get too wonky?
No, that's good. That's good.
So you said that this could assist or power up to 800 homes? Is that correct?
Yeah, so 1 megawatt produces enough electricity for 200 homes.
So let's say Goodyear decided that they wanted to put in their application to utilize some of this. Are they eligible to do that, or is it only open to residences? What is?
They are eligible,
Okay.
only up to 40% of the output.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're
Wonderful.
limited. So the idea behind this was really to get residents, more than anything, and small businesses, more than anybody, to be procuring power from or be subscribers to the solar gardens.
Wonderful. This is probably. Go ahead.
Uh-oh.
I'll let you before I ask the next one.
I have to add this because it's been a family discussion. It's available, as we use the term homes here, as we see panels on roofs and that, but does it not also make it available to the people for their electric bills that are in apartment buildings?
Oh, absolutely.
And we forget about that, because a person in the apartment building can't have a solar panel on their apartment building. My boys thought of that, so I just had to mention that.
That's a good point,
So
actually,
apartments-
though.
You're absolutely correct. So
Okay.
anybody
Yeah.
who's getting an electric bill can become a participant.
So with that comment, so if I owned an apartment building, and let's say I have a 4-unit apartment building, and I pay the electricity, then I can apply towards that, and it would get utilized based on the wattage in my apartment building,
I
correct?
believe that to be correct, yes.
Or if I own an apartment building and each tenant has to pay their electricity, then they're responsible, they could apply to receive that as well.
That I know for sure,
Okay,
yes.
wonderful.
Yeah.
That's good to know. That was a good point. Thank
Yeah.
you for bringing that up. Yeah. So with that, then I have a question for the city. How are the residents going to know if this is available?
Would you like me to answer that one?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just assumed it would be on them.
Yeah. So there are companies that we would use that actually would solicit
Okay.
people. Priority first is within the community, or the nearest ones first, going out from there. So anybody within the Commonwealth Edison territory can be a participant in this particular solar garden, but we would target, the DeKalb, Sycamore, Cortland area first, and see, at least solicitation either through mail, or email, or phone call. So it would be an open solicitation requesting that they are interested in participating. Someone like the the aggregated energy programs that are out there.
Sure.
It's kind of voluntary. You can opt in or out, but simply most people are made aware of it through a letter.
So given the fact that there are so many scammers out there right now, and I get numerous phone calls a day from phone numbers that I don't recognize, so I don't answer the phone. With that, and there have been reports of people going around to homes and soliciting for this, if I wouldn't want to miss out on a prime opportunity to be able to take part in this. And so I'm assuming that then would lean on the city to put some messaging out that says this is coming out, and you will see it from this company or these companies. I'm assuming that would take place.
That's something we could talk to our PR people about, working with the organizations that are providing this prior to them sending the letters out, to press release or put it on our website so that people can take a look and know that this is coming.
I think it would be a really good idea, because I would hate for us approve it, city council approve it, you go through all this work and you sit and you wait because nobody has applied because they don't necessarily realize that it's available to the residents or the community, and because of unfortunate scammers that are out there and that do solicit the not so good stuff. So yeah, perhaps a plan to keep in mind. I think this is a great opportunity. And so thank you for presenting this to us. And we have had a couple of other discussions with the solar panels, and I agree that it's something that is the future, and we need to keep that in mind. So.
A quick question. When you said it's available to anybody within the ComEd delivery system, does that mean that there's really no geographic area that it's limited to? In other words,
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's the way it's going to work is it's the Commonwealth Edison grid. It's it's their grid system. We're just putting it in, so anybody that's within the ComEd system, which is a large area, it's 26 or so counties, would really be able to participate. We are not the only solar, hopefully the only solar project that will be approved and built, so there are going to be others. And again, I think people are going to try to target closest first.
Sure.
And go from there. But yeah, it's not limited.
Is there any savings just based on proximity, or is that, I mean, it's anywhere the line runs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Okay. I have not closed the public hearing, so thank you. If we have any further questions, we'll have you come up. Give the public one more opportunity to speak or have questions before I close the public hearing.
I want to ask one question.
Sure. So if you could state your name and address, please.
Sure. I'm Ellie Sheva-Beller. My home address is 3721 North Spalding, Chicago, Illinois. I'm the manager of Oak Properties Limited Partnership, and we own Mars Starters. The building is kitty corner across the street at that T intersection. My question is about the utilities. You said that you're going to extend the water main down. First, now we're unincorporated, but someday I might want to come here and say, hello, I'd like to incorporate my industrial property. When is that water main, or is that water main project going to happen after the solar panels are gone? I wasn't quite sure what you meant by that as far as the utilities coming in.
The water main, which is currently at the southeast corner of First Street in Harvester,
Yeah.
this project, would be extended once the industrial development on the northern part of the subject site is developed.
Okay. With the solar panels? Or
Not with the solar panels.
with the future development after the solar panels are gone?
Or when industrial comes in.
Or when industrial comes in?
That's a key. It
All right.
edges off when industrial would come in.
Okay, all right. And are you anticipating then the solar panels will have once they've reached the end of their useful life in 20, 25 years, is that it? No more solar panels? Or is that too far in the future to tell? Or then are you expecting it to be developed with a large industrial use? Or is it just like, whoo-hoo, who knows?
It'd be hard to know. There may be some other new technology here, so, but it could be, I think we anticipate, if the solar panels go away after that time, it probably would be industrial type development. So
Okay.
it's really hard to tell that
Yeah.
long down the road.
I mean, we've owned that property for 30 years, so who knows, I might own it for another 30 years and want to know that when I'm, 75 years old.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to predict, but
Yeah. Okay, that's it.
Thank you. So in light of her just last question, if we rezone this, however, those two lots would have to come back and get zoned for heavy industrial if they wish to.
No, the
For-
plan development would include allowing the industrial
Okay.
uses, yeah.
Okay.
They'd have to come back and then probably do a
I always
re-subdivision,
Get confused on that. So.
and they may need there may be a process involved with the project that
Okay.
would go back to the commission, but
Depending on
the
what
use
it is.
would be set in place, yeah.
Okay. Okay. If there are no further comments from the public, I give one more chance. And I will close the public hearing. And I turn to the commissioners for any further questions or comments. Mr. Wright, start with you. Nope. No? Okay.
So prior to any motion, I just did have the additional in Exhibit B, just to summarize additional comment. If there's a motion to approve to addition of a 20-foot utility easement along the west sides of lots 1, 2, and 3. And then if you want to add as a condition, the discussion regarding coordinating with the school district and St. Mary's School, if you want to add a condition to coordinate construction, the construction phase, including traffic with the school district and St. Mary's School, if you wish to do so.
I'm okay as is. Do you want to add the condition?
I would like to add that there's some coordination.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at the end of this,
And at every project, we have a pre-construction meeting and
Okay.
with any project, so
Yeah,
that's, things like that are discussed.
I
And
think that should
but
be
we'll make sure that
at least
can be included.
in the
They're part of it.
discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
so do I read that in the verbiage?
Yes, you just have to add that
Okay.
information in. We'll help you.
And you can just add that on the motion, that's the sample motion that's provided in the report. If you want to add that to the end, Exhibit B, those two comments.
Okay. Based on the submitted petition and testimony presented, I move that the Planning and Zoning Commission forward its findings of fact and recommend that the City Council approve the zoning map amendment for the H1 Heavy Industrial District to the PD1 Planned Development Industrial District and approval of Planned Development Preliminary Plan for the development of two 2-megawatt community solar gardens on lots 1 and 2 and industrial uses on lot 3 as shown on the preliminary plat per the standards of the H1 Heavy Industrial District of the UDO, and the approval of the waivers to the Article 6.07 fences, Article 10.05 lighting requirements, Article 12.04 landscape requirements, and Article 9 streets, sidewalk subdivision design of the UDO for the subject property per plan development plans and plan and development standards listed in Exhibit A, and subject to all staff comments being addressed prior to the final City Council action as listed in Exhibit B, with the provision that coordination be made with St. Mary's School for construction purposes.
And also additional comment about adding the 20-foot easement on the west side of the property.
Oh, and yes, and adding the 20-foot easement on the west side of the property.
Okay.
As per number 17, Exhibit B.
Okay, motion made by Maxwell.
Got it.
Second.
Second by Barbie. Roll call.
Maxwell,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Barbie,
Yes.
Buckley,
Yes.
Chair Doe,
Yes,
5 yes.
thank you. Reports.
The next scheduled meeting is November 21st. However, that's the night before Thanksgiving, so we're planning to cancel that meeting, commission meeting. Next meetings are in December. We have 2 of them planned or scheduled, December 5th and then December 19th. No public hearings are scheduled yet, but I anticipate those having items on the agenda, so I plan on having those meetings. And again, if let us know, staff, if there's anybody that will be absent to those. Give us a heads up. We will have a new, actually a new commission member was appointed by the council and the mayor at the last meeting, Ron Klein, who is actually the hearing officer for the county. He is retiring from that position end of November and will be joining the commission in December for our first meeting. So the city council at their last meeting did approve a resolution providing feedback and comments regarding the solar farm up on Twombly Road by Suburban Apartments, and that was forwarded to the hearing officer for DeKalb County at a meeting we had last week with them. And there were some revised plans submitted, and the actual hearing was continued again to November 15th. And we're looking for that meeting where there'll be a recommendation from the hearing officer, everything addressed hopefully, and that will go on to the county board for their final vote on that particular project. So,
Okay. Wonderful, thank you. If there's nothing else, I'll be happy to take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
So moved by Wright.
Second.
Second by Buckley. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.